Hi guys, and welcome to Airability, your regular dose of lead therapy. And today I've got the fantastic Falcon Optical Systems S40i Endura scope. This is a first focal plane scope with a massive 40 magnification. But before we get into the deep dive, why don't we have a closer look? Well, as you can see, this is a fantastic looking quality scope. This comes in at around £550, or you can get it slightly cheaper if you look online. This is a bit of a chunky monkey. I need to say this from the beginning. It does come in at 1,150 grams, but I've managed to get it within the light rifle class by putting it on top of this AGT Vixen. The AGT Vixen at the moment is one of my test bed rifles that I test scopes on, this and the Chopper. And I will say, just to start off with, look how sleek that looks on this gun. This gun was absolutely built for a scope like this. First focal plane scope, you can be shooting rabbits 1 minute in the field on a Sunday morning, and you can be shooting your Thursday night bench rest postal cards inside at the club. That is the versatility of this scope, and it goes all the way from 5 to 40 magnification. But as ever, we'll start at the front and we'll have a chat about this wonderful scope. It's finished off in a satin black finish, and there is a 56mm objective lens. The total width of the scope is 66mm, if I remember correctly. So I would advise, if you've got no drop off from your block or rail, that you would need high mounts. Now, coming back down the bell here, we go into a 34mm tube, and this runs all the way to the turret housing. Now, this is where I think things get really quite cool and interesting. Now, this is an MRAD scope, so one click of the turret is the equivalent of 0.1 of an MRAD, and one full rotation of the turret is 10 MRAD. So there's a lot of adjustment there, because vertically you can move the scope 30 MRAD. So there's a lot of adjustment built in. I will say that the clicks are absolutely beautiful, deep, and you really know when you've moved this scope's sights one way or the other. It has a nice knurled, the elevation turret has a really nice knurled positive finish with really big and clear numbers, and there's also a zero stop on here. Now, moving to the horizontal adjustment, this actually has a cap over it, and you just remove the cap to gain access to the turret. Now, the turret, what I like about this turret is it's not massive, and for a left-hander you can see past it with your other eye when you're acquiring your target. Again, this is 0.1 MRAD per click, and as with the vertical adjustment, there is a really deep, positive quality click when you move these. I really do like them. And this also can be reset back to zero by just undoing that little Allen bolt there, moving it around and tightening it back up. Now, moving over to the other side, we have the illuminated reticle. We'll talk about the reticle a little bit more detail in a moment, but what I will say is it's got my favorite type of illuminated reticle, and that is one where each level of illumination has a stop in between, so you can instantly flick back to the level of illumination that you like, without having to scroll through the whole spectrum of illumination degrees. So that's really nice. And then also there is the parallax focus, and we all know, for people who aren't too familiar with scopes, the parallax focus is the focus of what you're looking at down the range. Now, one of the things we need to address here is there is some clear advantages to this scope to several others in its class. And the first one is it will parallax all the way down to 10 meters. Now, I've actually been offered scopes to review that I haven't reviewed because they don't parallax down any closer than 25 meters. And for an air gunner, that is most of our shooting, really, for a sub-12 air gunner. So though it would render those scopes pretty much useless, and right at the limit when we shoot 25 meter bench rest. And some of those scopes didn't even quite focus at 25 meters. So you've got a really massive margin of flexibility here. It goes all the way down to 10. At 10 meters, it's clear. And also at 25 meters, because this is a bench rest channel, I found it spot on, focused beautifully at 25 meters. So remember, when you're looking at other first high magnification, first focal plane scopes, they do not all focus all the way down to 10 meters. And that is a fantastic advantage of this scope, a really good plus. Now, that pretty much it about the turrets here. Really good, really bold, really deep clicks. I like them. We move back down the 34mm tube here, and you get to the magnification ring. And again, this is another area where this scope is a step forward from other scopes in its class. Now, usually the first focal plane scopes run out of puff at about 25 magnification. Now, that's fine. That's great because they built for other disciplines than bench rest. But this is, below really what we can use sensibly in bench rest. And there are some scopes that very few on the market, but there is one now that goes up to 35 magnification, which again at 25 meters is pretty respectable. And that is the bottom end of what a 25 meter sub-12 air rifle bench rest shooter would use, around about 35 magnification. But this scope here goes all the way up to 40 magnification, which means you can comfortably look at your targets, and you can see that 2mm bull, and mixed with the fact that it parallaxes down to 10 meters, this scope is way ahead of pretty much anything in its class, and with a price of £500 to £550. In some cases, it's £200 cheaper than similar scopes without these features. So we need to be clear that when you are looking for a scope, you're comparing like for like. Now, at the back here, we have the reticle focus ring, like we do on all scopes, and I'll keep saying it every time. Focusing that reticle really well will give you every advantage when it comes to shooting accurately. I always blur the parallax adjustment, aim it at a white card, make it look as though my eyes make them as if they're focusing into the distance, and I focus this reticle up really nice and crisp, and then that will ensure that when you adjust the parallax, both the object you're looking at and the reticle are in focus. Now, what I will say is this is quite a busy reticle because this this scope is designed to shoot, man-sized tin plates at God knows how far away, right down to 2mm dots at 25 meters. And this is probably one of the best generalist scopes I've ever come across with all these features. And I'll say it again, you can be out bopping rabbits on a Sunday morning, and you can be shooting your postal bench rest cards on a Thursday night indoors at the club. The reticle, now with first focal plane scopes, we need to explain this for people who do not understand them and are new to the sport. first of all, I would advise you to look at other YouTube videos that explain this in great length. But really, the basic thing is a first focal plane scope. When you move the magnification ring, the reticle gets bigger and smaller, the same proportion as the image that you're looking at. With a second focal plane scope, the reticle remains exactly the same size and the image expands and contracts with the magnification ring. Now, what is the advantage? So with a second focal plane scope, when you change the magnification, your holdovers, that's the increments you use when calculating how high you've got to lift the gun at different distances, change on the scope. You've got to recalculate for each magnification, right? And it is pretty easy once you learn how, but quite honestly, I'm lazy. The thing is, because on a first focal plane scope, the reticle is expanding and contracting the same proportion as the targets. Your distance holdovers remain the same, so you don't have to learn you don't have to learn how to calculate these things on the fly. Now, there is a disadvantage to this, and there's always a bit of rub with something, and this is what comes into choosing a scope. Now, usually, when you're at full magnification, say 40 magnification, the reticle can get a bit fat, and it can be a bit cumbersome and not be as fine as you want, right? What I will say about this scope is that's not the case. At 40 magnification, this reticle is perfectly acceptable to be used at bench rest. Now, you can fit the center dot in the reticle inside the 2mm dot of a 25m bench rest target. Now, that's all well and good. Real bench rest shooters would never do that, because we'll be shooting over here somewhere and bending it in for the wind, because we shoot outside. But if you're an indoor guy, there's plenty of, you can really set the scope up well and get that dot right in the center. Now, the disadvantage is when you shrink the magnification, the reticle shrinks as well. Now, as you can see here, I've tried to show how accurate this scope is when you reduce the magnification. So at 40 magnification, you can see everything fine on a bench rest target and place your center dot over the target. Great. 35 magnification is fine, and it's what I would expect. And because the ratio of the reticle changes with the magnification, you can still place that dot over the 2mm bull on the target. Fantastic. Now, what I will say at this point, I wouldn't shoot in competition anything lower than 35 magnification, but you can go lower. So 30 magnification, it is small for the type of shooting we do at 25m bench rest, but again, you can still see everything and you can still shoot. So I took this all the way down to 20 magnification, just to show that it was still clear enough to shoot bench rest cards. I must admit, the concentration level was a bit high at 20 mag, but we'll never go that far. But it's just showing the versatility of the scope. If you go below 20 magnification, the reticle does get small, and the gun becomes more of a point and shoot sort of vermin level. If you had 10 magnification or 5 magnification, like the ability to acquire your target quickly. And because you're probably using low magnification at closer ranges, you don't need the detail of the reticle as you would shooting far out. And also at closer distances or on lower magnifications, you can pop that illuminated reticle on, and you can be a bit, Call of Duty with it when you're dispatching those rats. So again, what I'm trying to get across about this scope is the versatility. If you have one gun and you pick your gun carefully and you choose something like this AGT Vixen that can shoot to bench rest level accuracy, and it's light enough to carry around in the field all day and dispatch rabbits, if you choose the gun correctly and pair it with this S40i Endura scope from Falcon, you'll have an unbeatable combination that will be able to, deliver great results at multiple disciplines. I will say, it's not my Anschuts and my X50 Falcon setup. This is a more generalist setup, But for somebody who wants to dabble in a lot of disciplines without the expense of a lot of rifles, you know, you can't go far wrong with this S40i Endura scope from Falcon Optics. Until next time, guys, remember, get out there, whether you're dispatching rabbits or doing your Thursday night postal cards. Enjoy that airgun dream and take care. Bye bye.